Hi, welcome to the Season 3 finale of The Weekly Wave. I'm Matthew Lyons.
And I'm Aaron Johnson.
And our very special guest here today is English teacher and advisor for the Green Wave Gazette, Miss Patricia Flommer. How are
Hello,
you?
Matt. Hello, Aaron. Nice to be back.
It's great to have you back. We had you back on Season 1, and here you are to see the end of it.
Yeah, comes full circle.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's sad. I mean, this has been such a huge part of our high school career, and but I'm glad that we're ending on a high note.
Yes, yeah. You guys have won a lot of awards, which is nice to have that.
Yeah.
And you definitely worked hard. I mean, to do something for pleasure where you had to put in all the time you did every week, a couple times a day, and then for your homework, and then still do your regular schoolwork, that's commendable.
Thank you.
Yeah,
It
you could
hardly
tell
f-
you loved it.
It hardly felt like work, though. I mean, like even season 2, like we doubled our workload. We were doing segments and all that because we really truly did love doing this. I'm sad to see it go, but let's jump right into the interview. Let's get off this topic right now.
For those who don't know, this will be your final year at Abington High School. You're graduating with us.
I am.
So first off, congratulations. It is well earned. So I want to ask you, when did you know you wanted to be a teacher? When did that thought pop in your head for the first time?
I have a different path, I think. Maybe everybody has a unique path, but it's kind of different from the typical teacher, because when I was really little, I'm the oldest, so I was always a little bossy, and my mother would always say the kids, like we were a partner, my mother and I, and the kids were my younger siblings. So I kind of grew up with that mind frame of sort of being a caretaker, I guess, even though my mother would probably say I wasn't a caretaker, and my siblings would probably say, no, you weren't, you were just bossy. But when I was in first grade, I had a wonderful teacher, and her name was Mrs. Frederick. She passed away when I was in like 6th grade, but I loved her. And she made teaching fun, and I thought, oh, I'd like to do that, because it just looked like fun to me. And then in 2nd grade, my teacher, Mrs. Kelly, used to give me handouts because I'd ask for extra homework. I was obnoxious, so that I could go home and quiz my siblings.
Oh, wow.
So I sort of wanted to be a teacher, or again, you could just say, that's strange. But my uncle gave us little children's desks, like school desks, and we would go down the cellar and I would like hold school. And then at the end of 2nd grade, I didn't like school anymore. I don't know what happened. And I never really loved school again until college. And I didn't go to college until age 27. I went to Boston College because they and Harvard have evening programs. So that's for everybody that's listening. You don't have to go the traditional route for college, and you still get the same professors, you still get the same degree, and it's cheaper. And you're working during the day and going to college at night. So that's what I did, and I loved it. And I loved just being exposed to new thoughts, and I thought this is fun being a student. But I never thought I'd want to be a teacher. It was, this is fun being a student. So then I went on to grad school at BC after that in philosophy, because I was like, this is fun to be thinking. And there was a Jesuit priest, Father Skian, and he used to always say, you're a natural teacher, you're a natural teacher. And I used to say, nah, I don't want to teach. Long story short, I eventually listened to a few people kept saying you should be a teacher, and I applied for the teacher exam, and I passed that. And then the state was doing this Massachusetts initiative for new teachers where they gave you a grant, and they gave you free classes, and you had to like jump through all these hoops. And I thought, oh, I'll try, right? And I did, like I passed those, and I was like, okay, maybe this is a sign, and I should be a teacher. So I was an ESL teacher, and then I applied here and a few other places, and I became a public school teacher. So it's kind of an untraditional backdoor path. Like I started teaching with a master's degree. I do not have a degree in teaching. I have degrees in English and philosophy. So it's, I don't know, I think the moral of my story to pass on to kids is if you want to do something, you don't have to go the traditional path. There's back doors into everything. And that's kind of how I came into teaching.
I admire that work ethic. You said you were working and doing classes at night.
Yep.
And I kind of want to talk a little bit about that, because you took on the Green Wave Gazette as well as a responsibility from Mr. Dortmund. How long ago was that?
I think he did it for 7 years, but don't quote me. It was a long time, and I did it before him, and then I resigned from that, or turned over the reins, so to speak, to him. He's a journalist, and it made sense, and he did it. And then when he wasn't able to do it anymore, I took it back on, and that was 4 years ago, because I didn't want to see the newspaper go away. Because when I started working here in 2001, there was no newspaper. There was no journalism. And I think it's important that there is in schools, and not all high schools have it, because that's a lot of power that's given to you kids.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You know? And then, too, it's a lot of work. So we're lucky we have it, I
Yeah.
think.
Did you see?
think,
Oh, sorry.
No, you go.
Did you see it as kind of like a? Because from what I'm getting from like your college and your background is you like to take on challenges. Like even from like little age, like you took on you took the extra homework in order to quiz your siblings. Did you see this as like a challenge to take on, kind of like a fun adventure to go down?
Yes, definitely, because I get bored quickly. I bet you two do also. And
Absolutely.
I
Yeah,
always have to be pushed to do something. Like I have to have, I don't know, some goal, or it has to feel like I accomplished something. Or in some ways, sometimes I think that's kind of selfish, but not really maybe. But there's a lot in it for me, if I think about it, in everything I do, because I love it. Do you know what I mean? When people
Yeah.
say, oh, and people sometimes do, strangers, oh, it must be so hard to teach high school. And I think, no, it's not. It's actually a blast.
Yeah.
You know, and I don't know, there's joy in things that are difficult, especially when you're, and I hope this doesn't come off wrong, but you're successful at it, like your program's successful, and it makes you feel good, like you know that things are going okay. You know, it feels good.
I know exactly what you mean. I
Yeah.
get bored like super quickly, and I need new things. I need something to kind of keep me like driven. So
Do you think that journalism, whether it be like a newspaper class or just a general class of journalism, should be in most, if not all, like public high schools?
I do. I think journalism is incredibly important for democracy. I would even argue there cannot be democracy without a free press. I don't think, I would like to see those kinds of questions discussed more in all schools. And what is the function of a journalist? What are journalistic ethics? What's fake news? What's bias? Because bias isn't fake news. And if you have a different opinion than me, I can't say what you say is fake. It's just you have a different opinion. Because fake news would be I intentionally tried to mislead you. I don't even know if most people, well, I don't know. Do people even know what the definition is of fake news? Because that's a term thrown around a lot incorrectly. So no, I think journalism is incredibly important, as are civics.
Yeah, I completely agree. Going off of that, in your career here at Abington High School and in teaching in general, how has it changed? Is it easier? Is it harder? What's changed? What's better? What's hopefully not worse?
No, it's not worse. I think the students have not changed. I think when I started here, I remember feeling like, and this I'm saying in a favorable way, I come from a larger town than Abington. And I remember coming here, and do you know Andy Griffith and Mayberry RFD?
yeah,
That's what it felt like, because you guys had a receiving line where the whole town showed up to shake your hand when you graduated. You had a court when I started for prom, and the students promenade, and then they'd dance in the middle. Like, I was like, wow, like I just didn't know people did those kinds of things. And students would hold open doors, they still do. Even if you had to discipline a student for something, right, they would still open the door for you, still be courteous to you. Like, there's just a politeness here and a small town feel here that you don't find in very many towns. And I've lived in a few different towns. I think Abington's unique. I think people that live here would say that too about it. So I don't think the students have changed. I think what's changed is there's a lot more diversity here, and I welcome that because I've taught in Boston and Cambridge, and I'm from the town next door, which is much more diverse. And I think I learn a lot when I taught ESL, when I learn about students from other cultures, other religions, other history, just other cultures and ways of being, that it's one world and we're all people, we're all humans, but there's different ways to express that. And I think it's important to have a diverse school. And that's changed a lot. When I started, I remember one of my students, she was African American. She was a freshman. She was the only student in her class that was black. And I remember her writing about that and how isolated she felt and lonely and things like that. That's changed a lot. We have a lot of students from other countries now, other religions now. And I guess on that note, when you asked if I thought journalism should be taught, I think that would be cool too, to have like more international things. And I know with COVID, we haven't been able to do like International Week and stuff like that like we used to. So that would be a nice, well, that is a nice change, that there are more diverse students. I think the biggest change is electronics, maybe, because when I started, no one had a cell phone. It was 9/11 happened the year I started. Teachers did not have computers in their classroom when I started. That happened after 9/11. All the English teachers got to have a computer, and then it spread to the other departments. There was one, I don't know if you remember this, there was only one place to use the computers, and that was in the library, and you had to book it. And so I had to plan like how to teach around when the library was available. I never have to do that now. So teaching is easier because of that, I think. So I think technology are the biggest changes. I don't think the students themselves have changed. I think they've always been polite and always been sort of close in a hometown feel, but it's nice to have a more diverse population where people are moving into Abington from other places.
It's good to know we've all kept our respect
Yeah, I
throughout the
know.
years.
Yeah, yep.
That's definitely.
I don't know
good
if
to
you would agree with that, and I know the interview's on me, but I don't know, I never know what it's like from a student's perspective. Like, do you guys feel that way about Abington? And maybe you wouldn't even know because you haven't usually lived other places.
I was about to say, it's kind of hard to tell when
Yeah.
we've only like, we're both 18. Oh, you're 17, I'm 18. So
Yeah.
it's, we haven't really seen too much else.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't, like you hear like my parents talk about like, oh, like the good old days, like everybody was like way more respectful, but it's hard because like sometimes like nostalgia like miscues stuff, and it kind of blurs it to say. But I mean, you'd be the one to know if the respect has stayed the whole way.
Yeah, it has.
That's
Yeah.
good to know, because there's definitely doubts, and I mean, like Aaron was saying, we don't have the knowledge of what it actually was like 20 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So when we see like one instance that and sometimes I think we see things kind of out of context, and we might view something as rude when it's not. And that can be, it's hard that we don't have, infinite knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, that's being human, and that's why classes like English and journalism and speaking your voice is so important.
Yes. Yeah, and I think that's something I've appreciated about working in the English department here, is that I think we're all very different teachers in the English department. I think whatever teacher you have a very different experience, and yet every single one of us in my department or in our department has the same core values. Like, we all believe in student voice. We all believe in the importance of discussion. We all believe in windows and mirror books. Like, that's probably been part of the reason I've stayed 20 years, because I couldn't work somewhere where people didn't share that.
Yeah.
I agree. But also, we touched upon it earlier. I'm going to touch upon it again. You're retiring. I mean, have you planned anything after retirement? Do you know what you're going to do?
No, because again, I kind of just go with the spirit, and I know that sounds hokey and like a hippie, but I do. I never really plan things. I have quit jobs, and when I was young, and my parents, because I was young, were like, oh my gosh, what are you doing? Like, where are you going? And I did not know. And I just sort of let the spirit move me to where I'm supposed to be, and I do believe that. And I know it sounds hokey probably, so I won't even say it, but I just believe I will be provided for, that things will turn out okay. And if they don't, they don't, and you wouldn't know it, right? Not to be morbid, but I mean, it's going to turn out okay. It just does.
Yeah.
So if you have the faith.
Do you think
what
that's
it
like the most enjoyable way to live your life? Just like let it go with the flow, like let yourself like enjoy the moment, kind of.
I don't know, maybe. I think too I don't know, because I also think I'm a nervous person, so I don't know. Maybe there's a connection, like the no plan. I don't know. And yet people think I'm very rigid and I have a plan, so I think I'm just an oxymoron. I don't know.
I can see you like being that way because when I had you as a teacher, you would always mention like good karma, and I think in my limited time in this life, I've definitely seen that. So I think that's a very respectful way to live, and I don't think it's for everyone, but I think if anyone, you're the one that can show the values and importance of that.
And there's whole literary movements on it, right? Like the
Yeah.
whole Romantic period, like believing in the imagination, believing in the power of one. I don't know, kind of not necessarily following society's rules, following your own truth. Like all of those things, they believed all that. That's probably my philosophy background and why I liked philosophy so much. But yeah, I do think it all works out in the end. And there's all different religious traditions that believe that and cultural beliefs that would support that. And I don't know, I think it does.
So for my final question, I want to know, what is your favorite part about Abington High School?
There's so many. I think it's the people, because without the people, what difference would any of it make?
Yeah.
Right? So, and I think this would be my answer. I love English. I love writing. I love reading. And I love reading because I love writing, because I love writing more than reading. But you have to do both, right? And I feel like when students start to love to write, or when you guys wanted to create this program, what could be better? So it's sort of like when that love of my subject comes together with the students that I admire or love, to use that in a platonic term, right? That meeting is my happy place.
That's awesome. Well put. So it's no secret that you're one of like the most hardworking people. I mean, you're one of the reasons why this program, the Weekly Wave, the Green River Gazette, has been able to stay afloat and go through these 3 years. I mean, you were here from our start. You helped us. You kind of mentored us the entire way to kind of make our dream and our idea like a reality.
Yeah.
So we wanted to do a little something to thank you.
You're kidding.
So here is
Oh,
some nice
geez.
chocolates.
Oh my goodness. Oh
some
my god,
flowers.
purple. I love purple. And
This
it's-
is nothing to match all that you have given us, and we cannot thank you enough. But this is just a start, so thank you
Thank
for all
you.
your knowledge, your wisdom, your guidance. It does not go unnoticed, and we are not the only ones that you have affected this way. So
Yeah.
thank you
Thank you.
so much.
Thank you, and thank you. I'm humbled. I don't know what to say.
No, you're.
Thank you. It's good because there are always dark days as a teacher where you feel like, oh my God, I'm just so awful. So it's good when you have happy days like this. So thank you, and I can't think of better people for it to come from than you and the crew. So thank you.
Yeah, your
This
hard
has
work
been
is
fun.
contagious. I mean, your attitude and everything. So we just wanted to say a little thanks the way we
Yeah.
could.
Hello and welcome back to the Season 3 finale of the Weekly Wave. I'm Matthew Lyons,
And I'm Aaron Johnson.
and our special guest here today is the Executive Director for Abington CAM, Mr. Kevin Tachi. How are you?
Gentlemen, thank you very much for letting me be on your show. Your award-winning show.
That's true.
Oh, had to plug that. But yeah, we decided to have you on today because, not just because we had Miss Flom on, but because, I mean, you've been here for what? Basically 2 seasons now?
Yes, sir.
So you've seen the show, you've seen it grow, but also we wanted to get you on because we do appreciate you, and we wanted to, let the world see who the real Kevin Tachi is.
Yeah. Pull the curtains on the real Kevin Tachi.
Yes.
Okay.
So for my first question, I want to know, when did it start? When did your passion for media and communications start? Was it early? Was it a little bit later in your life?
That's a tough question to actually answer because, like the two of you, and I'm going to actually use my stepdaughter for an example because I feel that you're all kind of driven in the same direction. She knew in her teen years when she was in middle school and high school that she wanted to be a registered dietitian. She just knew. She had a plan and she executed it. Each of you have your directions that you're going. You know what college you're going to. You knew. With me, it wasn't black or white. A lot of gray area. I wanted to be somebody who wanted to be part of the business environment. I love writing. I'm somebody who I appreciate media. I didn't want to kind of just pigeonhole myself in one spot. I didn't want to be, I thought about writing for the local newspaper. thought about being someone who did production for a local radio station. I love video production. I didn't know if I wanted to be in front of the camera or behind it, but I liked it. So it was a matter of trying to figure out what direction I wanted to go in order to do it. And it so happened that it took some time, fan of education, went to a state school, actually went to 2 state schools, and it wasn't until I took a speech class, and I was somebody who did not like being in front of the camera, being on microphone, that I actually liked it.
Wow.
It was one of those electives that I felt that I thrived in, and I think I went from there. And it was a matter of dabbling and learning and taking different classes, and from there, I feel as though I came into my own.
Yeah, I feel like that's a common thing with like different electives, things that you don't necessarily think of immediately, but once you try, you know. For example, you with computer science, I feel like that's just a common thing, that it's kind of like that that outlier, that strange thing that's not really on your mind until you're actually in it, and then it kind of opens up a whole new world.
Absolutely. Was that speech class something that you were required to take, or is that something you chose
It
to
was an
take?
elective. It was just
Elective?
an elective that I was,
Okay.
because I had initially gone for business administration and decided to change to journalism, broadcast journalism.
Interesting. Yeah. It makes sense though, because I mean, with Monday Night Talk, your radio show, I mean, I feel like you have to have some speech skills in order to kind of host a show like that. So when did Monday Night Talk start? When did that idea kind of come into your head?
Well, first, if it didn't come in my head, I was actually, I had done previous radio shows at a local at 1460 AM in Brockton. First show I ever did was called Anything Goes. And it kind of gave me an open slate to be able to have any kind of a guest on. So I could, whether I wanted to speak to the mayor of Brockton or a local store owner about something he was doing, it basically was a free pass to be able to talk to anybody. If I wanted to talk sports for a program, I could. Monday Night Talk was actually the brainchild of former state senator, now Weymouth Mayor Bob Hedlund, and he actually asked me to originally to help put together all the audio for the opening of the show and the concept of the show, and every now and then join him on air. He actually got to a point where he was so busy, he was like, could you take over the show? And so that was nearly 10 years ago.
Wow.
I actually changed it from what he used to do. He had such great institutional knowledge when it came to state government, when it came to some of the policies and the laws that were passed. He could talk hours on end with no problem. I did not have the same knack, but I felt as though I had a knack to be able to have a conversation with somebody, stay focused, stay on topic. So I ended up turning the show into a multi-segmented program where we could feature different guests. We start the show off with something called the State House Report. And so I have a chance to speak with state senators, state representatives. I've had the governor on, I've had the state auditor on, the treasurer, you name it. I've had Congress people on. So that, as well as other segments that we've done on that particular program. It just gives me an opportunity to talk about so many different things that I could share. The whole idea is being able to share information with people.
Yeah. Do you feel like you kind of developed that art of conversation? Because you said the person before you could talk for hours, but you couldn't do that. Do you feel like you can now?
It's not so much that I can't talk for hours. It's a matter of the depth, peeling the onion. Senator Hedlund, now Mayor Hedlund, he had such institutional knowledge because he lived it. He was part of it. He would have those conversations that he could talk on that one particular item. It's almost like writing a thesis, for your master's or for your doctorate. You got to kind of focus on one piece of particular matter and discuss it at length. I feel as though that the show needed variety, and that's the idea. Is I can offer with that particular program, offer different kinds of variety and feature to the South Shore.
Okay.
You mentioned some of the bigger names that you've had on the show. Do you get nervous when you are about to interview someone? And if so, what do you do to kind of combat that?
That's a very good question. I do get a little bit nervous depending on who it is, but what I do is I channel that nerve into how I prepare. I'll over-prepare. And again, I'll be conversational with them. But if anything, I don't know if I've met that one person. Matt, you and I have had conversations. We have the same music taste and have said that maybe one day we could meet Dave Grohl, who is the leader of the Foo Fighters. That may be the one time that I get nervous, but I have had chances to meet in past TV studios that I've worked for where I've actually gone to the Warped Tour, and we've conducted like 20, 30 interviews in a day, and I've had conversations with so many different artists, well-known artists at that particular time, that because I'm in the moment, I don't have time to get nervous or to not be able to complete my interview properly.
Yeah. I feel like there's a certain sense with like interviews like on air like we are now. It's I don't know if you feel the same way, but especially for like TV shows, I get nervous before, but as soon as that camera turns on and you're in the mood, you're in the moment, it just goes away. All the nerves go away, and I'm locked into the interview. Do you feel the same way?
I feel the exact same way. I mean, if someone's like answering a question that you want to know, you're not really thinking about like your nervousness. You're thinking about what they're saying.
Yeah.
And I think before, there's all the thoughts of what could go wrong. What if the guest doesn't like me? I don't think you feel that way, Mr. Tachi, do you?
I don't, and I can't recall if I've ever had an interview. I will say I do remember one Warped Tour interview I did where we had two bands that came out, and there was a lead singer of one of the bands who actually he was not having it. He was in a mood. But I just worked with it, and I worked through it. That's what you have to do. Is you got to find a way, and that's the fun and the challenge of being able to complete it. If you have somebody who's like, I want no part of this conversation. I don't want to talk to you. Luckily, there were other people that I can bounce questions off of.
Yeah.
I was able to make it through that interview, but it was fun and it was a challenge. And at the end, I might not have been happy with that individual, but that's okay. I get it.
Yeah. I feel like that's like kind of a different style of interviewing. If you have like a comedy show and you know that someone doesn't like you, you can use that energy kind of against them, and you can have like this like fighting back and forth, and it could be funny.
Sure.
That's really interesting. So, as we know, you are the executive director for Abington Cam. You've done an incredible job with the studio, and I want to know that now that we're seniors and we are moving on, what are your hopes and plans for the future of Abington Cam?
Well, we are coming out of a pandemic.
Yes.
A pandemic nobody saw coming. The one thing that I would say is that where I thought there was concern that how are we going to make it through a pandemic where we can't necessarily be in person, be able to take care of things. I feel that this studio persevered. I feel that yourselves, along with the two individuals, Derek and Joe, persevered, as well as the senior class of 2020. We all persevered. We were able to make it through. The hope is for us to get back on track where we want to be able to offer trainings to not only to future interns. We have 4 great interns who are following in your big footsteps. Again, it's for them to set their own path, not necessarily try to follow in your footsteps, but to have folks be a vital part of this studio. The idea of this studio is to be inclusive, not exclusive, and find ways to teach people how to operate a camera, how to sit behind that very desk, or go out and cover community events. That'll be the goal, is just to try to increase our membership and to get more people to come into the studio and utilize this fantastic space.
Awesome.
For my last question, you have 15 plus years of experience in the film industry. We have interns here like Matt and our director Derek behind the camera who are going off trying to pursue cinematography. What is like one piece of like vital advice you'd give them?
I would say just be patient, be that sponge, absorb as much information as possible. Don't be afraid to ask questions, because Lord knows that I've asked my share of questions. I don't think no question is a dumb question. And if you don't understand something, ask again. And that's how you're going to, and again, and by through trial and error. And I'll tell you, I mean, with the latest equipment and some of the things that we get, a lot of it's trial and error and kind of figuring out how it best suits you. I would just say is don't give up and ask questions if you don't understand something. Because a lot of times I feel that sometimes we get inhibited. Again, you're going from this setting, the high school setting, to you going to college camp, it's going to be a whole new world. And you're going to be in bigger classes. Mm-hmm. If you don't understand something, ask. That would be my advice to you.
That's good advice.
Yeah,
I mean,
and it's okay to fail.
Mm-hmm.
If you make mistakes, if something doesn't come out right, it's okay. The whole idea of failure is learning from your failures for future successes.
Yeah. I mean, when I first came to the studio, they were like, I mean, when you walk in, you're kind of like, it's like you open the door and then a gust of wind just kind of blows you back. There's so many different types of equipment. And when I was like learning each of the equipment, I would hear the name and be like, that means nothing to me. And now, I mean, I feel pretty confident that I could identify a lot of the different tools in the studio and kind of identify their usage, even though I might not be able to use all of them. I certainly have enough knowledge to kind of work with that. So that is awesome advice. Thank you so much for being our final guest. You have been so helpful for the show, and we cannot thank you enough, and best of luck in the future of Abington CAM.
Well, it doesn't end that easy. This is my opportunity to thank you for your hard work. And as you hear behind me, a Abington CAM employee is actually coming to, again, we're waiting for him to come on over.
No way.
This is a little thank you from Abington CAM.
This is supposed to be our interview, Mr. Tachi.
You've hijacked it.
If you can give that to Matt.
Oh, wow. He got the drop on us.
Wow, dang it.
This is a little thank you to you, gentlemen. And there's also, we have, as we speak, there are bags being given to Derek and to Joe for your hard work. Not only for this past year, but your perseverance through the pandemic. There could have been times when everybody threw their hands up and says, we're not doing anything. But I feel that we did some of our best work during the pandemic. We had some fun during the pandemic. And while I hope you've learned from me, I feel that I've learned from you guys as well as to some of the things, your visions and how you will go. Feel free to kind of look in the bag. So what we have is bestowing onto you our appreciation
Awesome.
for your
Award of
excellence.
The light's in the way.
Yeah, for your excellence in crafting productions here.
Awesome.
As well, what good is it to send you off without a little memento?
Oh my God.
Yes, we have
No.
now. We actually have the
No
Abington
way.
There
CAM
we go.
Wow.
bucket cap. This one of a kind.
This
But
was.
wait, there's more.
Oh, there's more.
There's more.
Oh my God.
Wait a minute.
Wait, there's more. What
Wow.
good is sending you off without a T-shirt after the name of your show?
Jeez.
I can't believe you bested us. Wow, this is incredible. Thank you so
Again,
much.
Oh
this
my
is
God.
the studio's appreciation for your hard work and for all your endeavors, and are sending you off to college with well wishes.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, but this wasn't supposed to happen. I really do appreciate the gifts. Well,
That's incredible.
you have me stunned. You have me stunned. We're supposed to. Oh, good job.
Thank
Dang.
you. Thank you for watching. This has been the greatest honor of my high school experience to help create this show. It has meant the absolute world to me that people have tuned in and that I got to work with such amazing people behind me and over in the studio. Thank you for all the support, and continue checking into the Green Wave Gazette and the Green Wave Gazette YouTube channel. There are some incredible students coming in that will do work just as good and definitely even better than we have. So thank you.
Thank you so much for supporting our passion for these past 3 years. It's been awesome to see all the support from the community and just to see everyone watching week from week. I know it's been a great time for all of us here, the Weekly Wave team, and I guess wherever we go next, just thank you so much for watching.
And now that this year is finally coming to a close, this crazy, insane time, it only makes sense that you see our faces again. So don't forget this time. Make sure you learn from it. If our show has helped any sort of insight, just make sure you remember how different this time was and you value the importance of safety and people and human connection. And just thank you.
Goodbye, everyone.